Of Charlottesville, we're seeing several college campuses, including the University of Florida and Texas A&M, are now canceling or turning away speeches by controversial alt-right figures. While their concerns are understandable after the death of Heather Meyer, whose memorial was held today, her parents spoke so eloquently at this event this afternoon. But the question is, what is the impact on the right to assemble because of all of this? Here now, Jonathan Turley, constitutional law attorney and professor at George Washington University. Always good to have you here, Professor Turley.
Thank you.
So now, you can see why some of these institutions are concerned. And the police also have been reluctant in some cases, they call it the Ferguson effect, to step in some of these situations on campuses and also in Charlottesville, sadly. Is it okay for these universities to cancel these appearances?
Frankly, I think it's problematic because we saw this before the recent tragedy. Schools like DePaul University in Chicago, other schools started to, instead of saying that they didn't want a speaker like Ianopoulos, a very conservative speaker on campus, they started to cancel them by saying that they're worried about public safety,
right,
that they're worried about counter-demonstrators. And that has become an easy way to bar conservatives and people that have opposition. Those are the type of people, quite frankly, that generate a lot of discussion on an academic setting. It's true, they come with great risks, but when student groups ask them in, they have a right to be heard. And there is a concern that many of us in the free speech community has for this new mantra. Nancy Pelosi said yesterday she wanted a permit reviewed of a group appearing in San Francisco because of, quote, public safety concerns. Well, what are those, and who makes those decisions?
Yeah, and I mean, one of the reasons that the safety is in jeopardy is because the police, as we say, have in some situations held back a little bit. There's reports of that in Charlottesville because they don't want to be on the wrong side of some of these confrontations, because we've seen what happened in some of these cases that led to so much violence in recent situations. In terms of the slippery slope argument with the statues and the monuments, Gettysburg came out today and said that they will not be removing anything. There are demonstrations that are planned for September 11th and other dates where there will be more demonstrations outside of these. Should they allow those to go forward?
Well, actually, I believe, as you know, I believe in a very robust view of free speech. Those people have a right to speak if they have a permit, and the police have to do the best they can to keep these crowds apart. But you can't have a veto for groups that are going to be controversial.
Yes,
we don't need the First Amendment to protect popular speech.
What about the pastor in Chicago who now says they should rename Washington Park and Jackson Park because he finds the names of Andrew Jackson and George Washington offensive?
Well, as a Chicagoan who teaches at George Washington University, I did note that. I will note that George Washington was the only one of 9 presidents who owned slaves to free them. He was the only founder to do so. And he spoke eloquently at the end of his life about trying to create a new destiny for a rising generation to get around slavery. I will note, however, that there is a school in Washington that's named after George II. And I won't point out names, but it begins with George, and we might want to look at that.
Jonathan Turley, thank you. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you.